In this tutorial, we're going to talk about functions and function notation. So any set of points, no matter how they're given to us, so sometimes we see them given to us in a table or in a graph or as a set of ordered pairs. So in a table, something like x, y, and then you have 2, 7, 3, 5, something like that. On a graph, so if you see the points graphically, you know how we plot points and it kind of ends up looking something like this, or as just a set of ordered pairs. And ordered pairs, we know that that's just how you typically write points. So parentheses, x, comma, y. So any of these can be called a relation. And so if we're talking about a relation, some special relations are also called functions. And that's what we're going to get into today. And we'll talk more about this definition. But just basically, a function can be thought of as a relation that assigns exactly one output to every input. So exactly one output to every input. So I like to think of this in function notation. That's this kind of notation over here. We're very used to seeing things written as y equals 4x plus 1, for instance. But instead, using function notation, it's going to look like this. F parentheses x equals 4x plus 1. So this notation over here, this is called function notation. And function notation, when you read this, typically we say f of x. So if you're going to read that out loud, f of x. F is going to be the function name. And it's not always going to be f. You can use g, you can use h. It just kind of depends on what the situation is. So pretty much any variable can go there. But f is, in this case, the function name. X over here, this is the input variable. And it's important to recognize that this input variable that we have right here, this x, is the same variable as what you have over here on the other side. Okay, so those should always match. So if this were a w, then over here this should be a w. And then the last thing is over here on the right side, this is what we call the function rule. So this is really what tells us what to do to that variable in order to get an output. So for instance, the function rule here is telling us take x, multiply it by 3. So take your input, multiply it by 3, and then add 4. So here's how this actually helps us. If I give you, let's say, f of 9, what that means is you are going to take 9, your input, and you are going to plug it in for x here. So you're going to do 3 times 9 plus 4. So remember, whatever is here matches whatever is there. So f of 9, if I follow order of operations, well, 3 times 9 is 27, plus 4 more, you're going to get 31. So f of 9 equals 31. And this is really where function notation is helpful. In this particular notation, you can see at the same time the input and the output. So I can see an input of 9 got us an output of 31. So a lot of times you're going to see functions kind of referred to as a function machine. So in this function machine, here's where you're going to plug a number in, here's where you're going to get a number out. And my function rule for this particular function machine, g of x equals x squared minus 1. So it's going to take your input, square it, and subtract 1. So let's go ahead and calculate g of 2. So that means if I plug 2 in, it's going to go in, 2 gets squared, so our work is 2 squared minus 1. So 2 squared is 4, minus 1, you're going to get out 3. So our output here would be 3. Same thing if I'm going to do g of negative 5. If I plug in negative 5, that means that we're going to do negative 5 squared. Now remember, to do negative 5 squared, it needs to be in parentheses. Otherwise, it's the opposite of 5 squared in your calculator. If you're going to use your calculator, make sure you have those parentheses. We know negative times a negative is positive. So negative 5 squared is positive 25 minus 1, and we get out 24. And then for that last one, g of 7, if I plug in 7 here, it goes in, we do 7 squared, which is 49, minus 1, and we get out 48. So all of these numbers up here at the top that we plugged in, these are all what we call the domain. So the numbers that we plug in make up the domain. And the way that I remember that is the word domain ends in the word in. Domain inputs. Okay? The numbers that we get out at the end over here, all of these numbers that come out make up what we call the range. And typically how we're going to write these when these are independent numbers there, it's not like a group, an interval of numbers that work. So for domain, you can write it in what we call set notation, and you can draw kind of this funky bracket, and you list your x's or your inputs in order from least to greatest is typically how you'll see them. So we could write -5, 2, 7, and that's going to give you your domain. And then your range, you write in the same notation, but again, these are just going to be your y's, your outputs. So this would be 3, 24, and 48. So let's practice this. On the back of your worksheet, I've given you 3 different functions, f of x, g of x, and h of x. So f of x, we can see here, f of x is 1/2 x minus 4. And then g of x is -2 times x cubed. And then h of x is 9. What I want to do is I want to evaluate each of these problems using those functions. So because I'm looking at the first one, f of 0, we're going to use the yellow one here because it's f of something, and the yellow one is our function f. So it's just a matter of taking that input, right? Here's our input. We want to plug it in anywhere that you see an x over here. So f of 0, what we'll be doing is taking 1/2 times 0 and subtracting 4. 1/2 times 0 is 0, minus 4 is -4, so our output is -4. G of -2, well, G shows up here, so we're going to use the red function on this one. So G of -2, that means I need to plug -2 in for x here. So I'm going to be doing -2 times -2 cubed. Order of operations says cube -2 first, which is really -2 times -2 times -2. So -2 times -2 is 4, times -2 again is -8, times this -2 is going to be 16. So g of -2 equals 16. The last one, the last function that we haven't seen yet is h of x. Well, here we have h of 3, and so I know that I'm going to plug 3 in to my green function. But here's what's interesting. When I find h of 3, there is actually no x over here. H of 3 equals 9. That's it. I'm not going to do anything with 3 because there's no x to plug it in. So it turns out that my output for h of 3 is just 9. This function h, its only job is to turn every single number into 9. So take a second, see if you can figure out f of -3, g of 4, h of -5, f of 6, and g of 1/4. And then pause this, see if you can do those on your own, and then play it again, and all those answers, including my work, will be there for you. Okay, so check these out. You can see all the work that we have there for each of those. So if you need to pause this so you can look at it a little bit longer. The biggest thing is anytime you're simplifying an expression, you need to follow order of operations. Just make sure that that's going on for you. And then the last section, what happens when we want to start determining if a relation actually is a function? Well, I want to remind you back what we wrote in our notes back here. It says a function can be thought of as a relation that assigns exactly one output to every input. So that means if I'm looking at this graph, every input has exactly one output. And I'll even write that over here just to make sure that we remember it. Every input has exactly one output. So look at that first graph. For this input here, you can see that there is an output up here and there is an output down here. So in this case, whatever that input is, it doesn't even matter. Let's say it's -2. Well, there is an output up here at whatever this is. You know, let's say if it's 3. And then when I plugged in -2, I get an output down here. Let's pretend that's -3. So in this case, -2 has an output of 3 and -3, so it is not a function. Now, another way to quickly determine if something is a function is with the vertical line test. And you've probably heard of that before, but it's basically, can you put a vertical line on the graph? If the vertical line crosses more than one time, it is not a function. Okay, so the vertical line test determines if something is a function. So if it crosses only one time, then that means that you have a function. If it crosses more than once, not a function. So you can use that anytime that you have a graph. So look at the next one, function or not. It's a mapping diagram. You can see your inputs and your outputs. So -3 goes to 18, -2 goes to 7, -1 goes to 11 and to 25. So that means we have a point at -111 and a point at -125. That means that this is not a function because a single input has multiple outputs. So this is not a function. The next one, -3 goes to 3, -2 to -6, -1 to 0. I don't know why that has like a negative sign there. Ignore that. 0 goes to 15, 1 goes to -1. So every input has exactly one output. This is a function, and that would be what you would write down to explain. Every input has exactly one output. Last ones. 412, 415. Without even continuing, I can already see that this is not a function. And if you're going to write down your reason, it's because 4 has two different outputs. An input has two different outputs, 12 and 15. Same thing actually 5 here as well. 5 has two different outputs, 18 and 21. So not a function because some inputs have multiple outputs. Here, -3 to 6, 0 to 8, 3 to 20, 8 to 4, -10 to 8. There is no issue there. Every input has exactly one output. Even here, there are multiple inputs that have the same output. That's okay. That's allowed. So in this case, it is a function because every input has exactly one output. And the last one, let's go ahead and use that vertical line test that we just learned about. Anywhere that you would put a vertical line, it's only going to cross at exactly one spot. So that means yes, it is a function, and you would write because it passes the vertical line test.